This video will cover how to make an extremely simple auto-crafting computer and apply Energistics too. Let's get right into it. So right off the bat, there's a couple things you're going to need, and that is an ME glass cable, a pattern terminal, a crafting storage block, and a crafting co-processing unit. And there are also two other optional blocks, which is a crafting monitor and a crafting unit. Alright, so when building your crafting computer, there's only really one rule, and that is that it has to be a perfect rectangle or cube, and it has to contain both co-processing units and crafting storage blocks. Crafting monitors and crafting units really are only filler, and this one is actually useless and is only used for filler, while the crafting monitor actually does serve a purpose, but it's purely aesthetic. Alright, so if you wanted to, you could make a crafting computer that's as small as this, and yeah, that is fully functional and would actually be good enough for the purposes of this tutorial. However, I recommend building at least a 3x3x3 crafting computer, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to start by building this part right here, and then I'm going to fill the rest of it in with co-processing units, and these co-processing units will allow your crafting computer to do multiple things at once, while the crafting storage blocks will allow your computer to have more things queued up at once. And finally, for this last block, I'm going to put a crafting monitor in, and what this crafting monitor will do is show me what this particular crafting computer is doing at any given moment, and I find it particularly useful. It's not required, but it's nice to have. Alright, so once you've built this structure right here, then it's a simple matter of hooking it up to your ME system. And then you're going to also want a pattern terminal somewhere on your system. And now is the interesting part. You have to decide exactly what it is you want your crafting computer to do. For the purposes of this tutorial, I've decided to show you how to make it so that you can queue up iron ore to turn into iron ingots, and I'll be using a redstone furnace for that. So really, a crafting computer at its most basic is really just a machine that will take raw resources, move it to a machine, wait for an output, and then take that output and put it back into the ME system. And that is accomplished through ME interfaces and patterns. So once you've decided what it is you're going to do, first you're going to need a pattern for a particular machine. So in my case, I'm using a redstone furnace and I want to turn iron ore into iron ingots. And that's pretty simple. So I'm going to go to a pattern terminal. I'm going to drop these blank patterns into here. I'm going to switch it to processing mode since this is in a crafting table that I'm going to be using for this particular pattern. It's a machine. And then we can place the raw resource right here, and I'm going to place the expected output right here. And once I've done that, I'm going to encode the pattern, and then I'm going to go over to the machine and I'm going to place a ME interface somewhere on it. Now in the case of thermal expansion blocks, they actually have some sides are input sides and other sides are export sides. So blue means import and orange means export. On some machines they will import and export on the same side, which would be nice because that would mean we would only need an ME interface, but for the case in the case of redstone furnace, you will actually also need an import bus to import the iron ingots back into the system. So what we're going to do is we're going to place an ME interface on an import side, and then we're going to open it up and place this pattern inside here. And then we're just going to hook it up to our ME system. Alright, and then what we're going to do is place an import bus on one of these outputs and just hook it back up to the ME system like so. Alright, and that is the auto crafting for iron ingots pretty much complete. And that train is really loud. Alright, so now how do you actually use this? Well, that's pretty simple. Just open up an interface and you'll see that if you switch this to craftable, it will come up with a craft option for iron ingots. So just click on that and then say how many you want, say 20. Oops, I forgot to put in some raw resources, and that is in there. So let's go back to craftable and let's say how about 20, and you will see that once I hit start, it will in fact start crafting it. If I go over here, you'll see that it is telling me it is making those 20 iron ingots. And over here, as you can see, it is placing it in there and taking it out. So that's an ME Autocrafting computer at its most basic level. However, these can get pretty advanced to the point where you can have a long string of machines that's all controlled by a crafting computer, making very complicated multi-step recipes and whatnot, and using many different kinds of machines and crafting tables. However, that's a little bit outside the scope of this tutorial. I hope it was helpful, and if you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos, let me know.